It's another beautiful Monday morning. How are you doing? I hope you had a great weekend. Welcome to Motivation Monday on Jam 316. My name is James Okumu. So glad you've taken the time to hook up with us. I have an amazing conversation I want us to be a part of. I'm sure you'll be inspired and you'll be encouraged. Have you ever felt like you don't belong? Have you ever felt, rejected? You know, it's like you don't belong here. You're not part of this crew. Have you ever gone through a season in your life or a phase in your life where you were part of a community that rejected you? Maybe it's at home. Maybe it's within the larger community, or maybe in school, or maybe even in the place that you work. How do you deal with rejection? How do you deal with neglect? You know, people neglect you. They exclude you from things because you are not wanted here. You are rejected. It's not a very good place to be at. Got an SMS earlier from Dave in Lower Kabete. Says, in secondary school, I became vividly aware that I was from rural Kenya. Alikuwa ametoka Geshagi. And he says, my accent told it all. My kind back then wouldn't recite poems, do public speaking, or do debates. We were relegated to folk songs. I was in Senior Chief Koinange High School. Then I met Christ and became born again. I went for English Service Fellowship back at home. I met this lady who observed me, called me aside, and spoke to me, and told me who I was in Christ. That rejection was instantly solved. Then I went on to break the bounds, and to date, I'm still content. I'm complete because of Jesus in me. I'm so glad you found a solution, because rejection can hold you. It can taint how you see life. It can hold you back from achieving the very things you want to achieve. And so this morning, I've got an amazing guest who will be sharing his story with us. Neglected from childhood, facing rejection. How did he overcome that? We'll get to find out as he shares his story with us today. But even before we get into that, I want to rope you into this conversation. Have you ever gone through a phase in your life where you felt rejected? You felt like you didn't belong. You felt like people didn't want you. You are just neglected. How did you handle it? Or is it something you're still struggling with till today? If that is you, talk to us today, because we may point you in the right direction. We will have solutions for you. I've got two amazing guests in studio with us today. My first guest is Anthony Wanjiru. Anthony, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Karibu sana. I'm doing well. Good to have you in studio today via Zoom.
Wonderful.
Great.
Amazing.
Karibu. We also have professor and psychologist Catherine Gashuda. Catherine, how are you doing?
I am doing fine. Good morning and praise the Lord.
Amen. It's good to have you on the show. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. So, Anthony, we begin with you. You have a story and a half to tell. So where does your story begin?
I don't know. It's far. I don't know. It will start from where it started.
Let's go to where it started.
Yeah. I'm Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm Anthony Perez Wanjiru.
Mm-hmm.
And as the name sounds, that I know just one parent.
Okay.
Which I don't know how she looked physically, or how I don't know who I look like. I don't even look like my father or my dad.
Oh.
This is now what I was told. Yeah, that I was a son of one widow.
So you don't know, you've never met your mom, you've never met your dad?
I have never met both of them.
What happened? How did that come to be?
Yeah. What brought all these things is after the time I was young, I was facing the family I was in. I was facing some hostility, not some hostility, but severe beating. To a point now, you know, when you get yourself in a family and you see the hostility in it, now you start questioning about your identity. You start questioning who you are. And that is a time now, the one who was taking me through all this hostility, she was my step-grandmother, not a real grandmother, but step-grandmother, not mother, grandmother.
Okay.
And now I started asking, who am I? Because the insult could be hurled to me. You know, all the kind of insult. I could be called Abukuso, Amanita.
Oh.
And And you see, at that time I was so young. I was young because I was young. As I remember, I was in nursery school, and I could be called all the. They could, she could tell me that don't sleep in the same house they are sleeping, in the same homestead. I could be given my private, like my personal house where I am supposed to sleep, because the word that was there that they fear that I might either midnight. Those are the words that were being held to me. And if you look me so keenly here, you can see a permanent mark. I always remember about severe beating, and I was pulled toward the door. And there's a lock of the door that's stuck in my skull.
Oh my goodness.
And, that is now the time, because I was having still another brother who had run away in class 3. But me, I wanted to at least to get education. My brother ran away and started being a shamba boy from the time he was in class 3.
Okay.
And now that is where my story begins.
Where was this? Where is this you're being raised up?
Yeah, okay. I don't want to go to a more revelation about it because I don't.
That's fine. If you don't want to mention the place, that's fine.
Yeah, but it's in Moranga County.
Okay, great. Professor, I'm just wondering, just listening to what Anthony is saying and what he went through as a child, what kind of damage does this kind of thing do to a person when you're experiencing it from such an early age?
Right. When a child is going through different forms of abuse, because what I'm hearing from Anthony is that he went through emotional abuse. That means that he was getting insulted, he was getting demeaned.
Yes.
Information was not passed to him appropriately. He does not seem to have had someone who could give him his inherency, or where he came from, and who the parents were very well. So a child will grow up confused, because you'd want, and that is why he is saying he started asking identity questions.
Yeah.
Who am I? And where am I coming from anyway? There was also physical abuse for him, meaning that he was being beaten. He has showed us a mark where he was hurt, and at the same time he was psychologically abused. Psychologically abused because the things that you're being told are not just emotional, but they are also psychological, or they are mental in nature. And when children experience abuse of that kind, that is multifaceted, what children go through is adverse experiences, which amounts to trauma.
Okay.
And that is why we talk about as adverse childhood experiences, and later on in life, they will present in a particular way. They may have mental health illnesses because they pitied themselves, they were very fearful, they were very confused. They did not feel nurtured, because what I am hearing from Anthony is that he did not get the appropriate nurturance for him at that developmental stage. And therefore, if another intervention does not come in, and again, people will interpret situations very differently, even as children. As a child, he can interpret the situation and say, God cares for me. That's what I have been told in Sunday school. Or he can feel that I don't have a place in this world, just like you said in the beginning of the program, and I'm not good enough, I am not important. And that would lead him to becoming suicidal. We handle a lot of situations where children who got molested, because it can also be sexual abuse. And sometimes it is sexual abuse from a member of the family. It can even be dad. It can even be an uncle. It can even be another person who is a worker in a home. who is taking advantage of a child. And it doesn't have to be coitus, it doesn't have to be penetrative for a child to feel abused and for later on in life to have challenges that are emotional, that are psychological in nature. And therefore, what we do is to listen to what was happening. I was a high school teacher, and I remember working with a young boy. He was in Form 2, and for him, he felt rejected when he was in his mother's uterus.
What?
He used to tell me, I think for me, I was rejected before I was born. At that time, I couldn't understand that kind of a rejection or what would make him to feel that way until I connected with the mother, because I wanted to understand, could it be true that this boy who is feeling that his rejection comes from far? That's what he used to tell me. My rejection comes from far. And then I used to ask him, far where? And he used to say, before I am born. So before you were born, where are you in your mother's uterus? So I connected with the mother and I asked her, what was happening during your pregnancy? And she told me she got pregnant when she was in a nurse training college. And she was very confused at that time. And she went to the nurse who was taking care of them so that she can procure an abortion.
Wow.
And the nurse told her, no, we are not going to allow you to procure an abortion. And that is the time then I was not a psychologist. But when I reflect back, that is the time I started understanding that when you are working with children who are traumatized, and even with mothers, it's important to help them to appreciate that whatever they do, the child is speaking some messages even when they are fetus in their uteruses. And therefore, when they are sad, the child will be sad. When they are fearful, the child will be fearful. That in essence is a rejection. That in essence is a neglect. Because the child is not being provided with an environment of care, an environment of nurturance, an environment of security. The child does not have the first basic socialization that is comfortable for him or her.
Okay. Back to you, Anthony. I'm just wondering, with everything that was happening in your life as a child, how did that make you feel? What was going through your mind?
First, as I said, that is where my story started. It brought a lot of challenges, because now the time I started asking, who am I? Because you ask, because of the things you are seeing. This is the time I could sleep without food. I'd been told to go and engrave. I don't know. Ni kachibue kaburi ya mamangu. If I ask for food or for second portion, if I'm not full. And now there's a time now the step grandmother or the woman who was bringing me up started now telling me face to face, that you're a child of a prostitute. And now she could speak it directly to my face until the time I was in class 7, I had to start against that speaking towards me. She could tell me directly to my face that you're a child of a prostitute and your mom was aborting you. You survived. My mom died. She died out of trying to abort me.
Wow.
And it brought, that's why even these interviews sometimes is becoming uncomfortable, because I'm feeling the wounds coming back afresh again. Because I could remember those words well, and it brought a lot of confusion in my life, sexually, psychologically, in a whole sum of life. It all scattered me in many places. And the time now I started now hearing my mom was a prostitute, and she was in Luga slum. She was a commercial worker. my father was a man-eater. Yeah, I'm a child of attempted abortion in a rejected family too.
Mm-hmm.
I could feel that now my inner desire was I want to find my father.
Yeah.
I could feel every moment, every time I used to cry and say, I wish I can see my father then. And I know perhaps I can find love.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, from the time I was young, I found no parental or don't even call it parental, family love,
yeah.
because parental are not there. Family love was so absent, and that brought a lot of crisis in me till now I'm working toward.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long did you stay with your step-grandmother?
From the time I was in class, from the time I was young to the time I ran away in class 8.
Okay, you'll talk to us about that part of running away. What caused you to run away and where did you run away to? Back to you, Anthony, before we go back to Professor. You know, you shared earlier on that you ran away from your step-grandmother's place when you were in class 7. What prompted that move and where did you run away to?
Okay, to start with that is I got in culture. Okay, the culture I got myself in is the culture that don't promote someone to speak, you know? If something is happening, and that is the biggest thing that for me, I think it could have brought suicide. It could have brought because you're not sharing with anyone, you don't want to reveal what you're passing through, even neighbors, because if you know that you are exposing the family and you've been neglected more. And I could feel things just piling in my heart. I could feel just pain continue piling in my heart, asking many questions, you know, to a point I could feel like I'm even getting confused about life itself.
Yeah.
To a point that I remember there's a time because I used to sleep outside as young as I was in nursery school. I used to sleep outside. I could run away from that house, that home, and I go and sleep in tea plantation, if you're familiar with the tea plantation. And that is where, okay, like I can start now I can paraphrase about my journey about salvation. That is where I start now seeking this power that is beyond me.
Yeah.
Because I remember as young as I was in class, there's a time I had slept in a tea plantation for 3 days. And I could feel completely, because I had not eaten for almost 1-2 days. I could feel I don't have strength to walk again. And I remember that is the first time to have an experience with a power that is beyond me.
Yes.
Because I remember that time I prayed and I said to God, Lord, if you are real God and you took away my mother, I went to the grave of my mother. I remember I stepped there at the grave of my mother and I said, God, if you are still alive, please don't allow me today to sleep outside, because I could feel so fearful. I was hungry. I could feel I don't have strength. Okay, cutting long story short, I was saved in one of the miraculous way. And for the first time that time, I was not beaten. Only that day. Because I used to be beaten serious. You know, metal, the one that in the villages, you blow the fire with.
Yes,
the metal.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with that thing. She could kill me that thing when I'm naked. Until today, I'm still having that injuries at my back.
Yeah.
And I could feel, she could beat me at the head, and I could feel that sound where when you click two metals like this, there's a sound.
That ringing sound, yes.
Yeah, that's the ringing sound. I could feel it in my mind. And I say, is God, is a miracle that I'm okay. Now, that thing, that hostility, that feeling that I'm fighting things, I could feel like I'm bursting and I'm small, and I could feel a lot of confusion in me. I felt the only thing that it came to my soul is that I used to get born again. Everywhere I could get anyone preach, even if it's a child, I could feel I want something that is giving me comfort. Everywhere I could meet anyone mentioning the word of God, and I was young. I used just to go there, even without adding the preaching.
Yes.
I just want to get born again because I want something to feel comfort. And that time, I remember I did my exam, my class 8 exam. And the word that came from the family, I don't want to go into details so much. The family, that is my grandfather. He told me that go and tell Jesus to educate you. I remember those words.
Oh my goodness.
Painful.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was told that, I got really confused. The first time I questioned my grandfather, and I asked him, was Wanjiru really your daughter? Was Wanjiru really your daughter? Oh, okay, because I'm different. I'm the only one who look a bit different in that family of my mother. And I could ask, am I really the son of Wanjiru? Oh, even if I don't look like the other family, am I really the family? And I did my own. I called people around and I went to my local church. You know, I did my own small harambe. Imagine a child of class 8. I did my own small harambe. And I thank God, people came up and at least there's something small that was given for my me to be admitted in school. Now that was my escape route from that family. When I entered in high school, I said, backward never.
Was the high school a boarding school?
Yeah, boarding school.
Ah, okay.
I felt I have a home.
Wow. Professor, just listening.
I used not to go outside.
Okay, Professor.
I used not to go home.
You didn't, even when you closed, you used not to go home.
I used to pretend that I'm reading, but I'm left with 4 4s, but I knew what I was doing. I knew school is my home.
Wow. Wow. Professor, just listening to what Anthony is sharing, what are some key things you can pick that you can share with us?
I am appreciating that a child can go through so much.
Yeah.
Because there is so much that Anthony went through, whether it is being insulted and told inappropriate things about his mother, or whether it was about the mother is a prostitute, or go and to your mother's grave, or being beaten every other time and denied food, and told to go and be educated by Jesus Christ, all those things and much more. That is too much for a little child in terms of being able to get himself out of such a difficult situation.
Yeah.
But when we listen to Anthony, what is coming out is that when a child has strong will inside himself, because he's different from the brother. The brother decided to go and become a laborer when he was very small, but he was very resolute that he wanted something for himself. And you can imagine a young boy, standard 8, holding a fad lacing and collecting money for himself.
Yeah.
That is truly an outstanding individual.
Yes.
And even questioning the grandfather, whether he was truly the son of his mother. When a child barbarizes, when a child is able to rightly reflect, they may have limitations, but they are still reflecting. And note that he got saved in any gathering or anywhere where the word of God was being preached. Meaning that Anthony was looking for refreshment inside himself. He was looking for newness inside, and he was looking for hope.
Wow.
And that is very different from other children who become adults or even adolescents that we see in our clinics. Because if a child is not able to do what Anthony did, reflect on what is happening to him, and also allow that being saved is going to give him a newness. And even when he went to high school, he decided to stay in an environment that was not as abusive as the environment at home.
Yeah.
And maybe the Anthony we see today is the Anthony who came from the decisions that he made. He did not allow the decisions of the step-grandmother to be the ones that were going to control his life, but he allowed critical decisions to be the ones that were going to mold him and make him another different kind of a person. And therefore we can say there is hope for many children who are able to do what Anthony did. But all the children are not like Anthony. There are those who feel completely overwhelmed by what they are going through. It may not even be as much as Anthony went through. It can even be only one form of neglect that a child will go through. But that child does not have the power within to be able to make a difference for himself or for herself. So I am happy to hear that Anthony was able to get himself out of that situation because it's a story to be told to many people.
Some of the comments coming through, I have a comment here that's saying Anthony's story is making me shed tears, reminding me of everything I went through in my childhood. Just like him, I went to every church, got born again on every altar call, just because I felt void in my heart all the time. This is coming in from somebody who went through sexual abuse on so many occasions when they were a little girl, and she says, I grew up very confused, having been rejected by my own mother. I felt rejected by the whole world. So many painful life experiences, but just recently God healed me emotionally and all around with the help of my pastor, who's more of a mother to me than a pastor. Today I have a testimony I'd love to share with the world, and now God is calling me to give hope and rescue sexually abused victims through this foundation that she's setting up. Good for you, and thank you for communicating. This one says, good morning. Listening to Anthony, I agree that God's purpose cannot be thwarted, and he is always there to lead and guide us even when we do not know what to do. That was too much for him, but I'm glad he is strong, and by God's divine leading, he has made it through. He's an encouragement to many going through similar torture. As a church, we have a duty to speak out against such torture. Many of these tormentors go to church somewhere. This is from my good friend, Reverend Bernard Warui. Thank you for always listening. So we come back to you, Anthony. You said when you went to high school, you felt a relief because you didn't go back home. So how was high school for you, and who was paying your fees?
Yeah, let's start with there. Yeah, it was a 10% relief because I could feel a new environment, but also it came with new challenges, you know? Yeah, because, I want to give a bit sensitive information. Without going to details that much, that according to me, when a child go to a neglect and this abuse, either you have to go to extreme.
Yes.
My brother went to extreme of the drugs and because let me tell you, if I speak from 1 to 2, the things that I saw in that family I was in there is the things I can't, some things when I see like I was in a different world, I was like I was in a movie world, because seeing my brother in class 3, my brother's young as, by the time he ran away, he was in class 3. That means that he, by the time he was smoking bangi, marijuana, would be in class 5, class 7 there.
Wow.
Seeing them smoking bangi, like seriously smoking marijuana, it was traumatizing to me because, I was the only one who was not using those things, and them smoking cigar and marijuana and other scary things. When you don't fight, because of my strong desire of like wanting to feel parental love, I could feel anyone who wanted to show me love, I want to associate. And that is most likely is what brings to sexual abuse, because you want anyone who show you concern, you want to be so much concern. And also to bring sexual identity, because the more you don't have love, the father love, whoever comes on where you feel like you want to be associated with, at that one it may change your orientation, or it may change your way of thinking, because no one is shaping your sexual life. I don't know, am I making sense?
Yes,
you
are.
I don't know if you're getting what I'm saying.
I'm getting you loud and clear.
Yeah, I'm trying to make a point, a sensitive message.
Yes.
Yeah. It brought there, when I was young, there was a bit of confusion because of the things I could see being done by the other who are that family, you know, the boys. I could somehow get confused. The one that I came, and I think is God who snatched me.
Yes.
I could have gone to a certain orientation about sexual identity. And let me not go more to that.
Okay.
Now, let me go to high school. When I went to high school, it was a bit good, but as I have mentioned in a periphery, that there was a sexual identity that was disturbing me. I could feel confused somehow, sometimes confused, but emotionally, not in action, emotionally, feel confused, still attached, you know, attachment.
Yes.
I could feel some attachment. I'm getting attachment towards sometime my individual, my fellow student, some kind of attachment. But, you know, God will use to subdue, you know, because when I went to high school, the funny thing, God knew how to save people from the fire. I was born again. Now, when I went to high school, the first thing I did, the first Friday, I was given opportunity to preach on the parade ground.
Wow.
And, you know, I preached with this accent, in this unique accent.
Yes.
I came from. No, it was all laughter in parade ground. And the prince said, it is saying that we are having a new pastor in school.
Wow.
Now, from that time, they started calling me pastor. Now I want to say this was a permanent stamp that God put in my life.
Wow.
You know, and it helped me a lot not to get confused.
Okay.
And the moment I could feel this identity crisis, could see this attachment, this word that God brought to me, this title,
yes,
it could make me not to go to extreme. And I say the most of the church now I got in high school, because, you know, in high school, I just entered with the admission money and the first school fees. And now I'm not going home. The school fees is piling up now and again. Oh God, remember, no one is coming for my visitation. No one is following my education. Now, even the life ethics, I'm the one who is trying to, and like I'm self-teacher. I'm a self-teacher through the Bible. I'm learning what I'm learning. And that is why, okay, I don't know if this word is correct, but let me use it. Sometimes perhaps I became somehow a fanatic, a Christian fanatic, because I don't have anything. Therefore, what I read in the Bible, I put it in me and I practice with all of me.
Yes.
And now the biggest challenge is that no one could ask me your performance. It could see during the time of visit, other children having parent, food, those visits, you know, during those very parent days.
Yes.
And I could feel void, vacuum. I could go and pray. I could feel hopeless. The suicidal thoughts sometimes could come and go. And my education went completely south.
Wow.
Completely south. Remember, I don't have someone to pay my school fees. I don't have somewhere to go.
Yeah.
You know, I'm trying to speak to my fellow students here and there. I'm hooking. This holiday, I go to this home after teachers, people start asking where I've stayed in school. You know, there's time also they can be they could be robbery in school when others are at home. You know, the first suspect can be you. And now I start now hooking my fellow friend, my fellow student. Now let me watch it now in this time.
Yeah.
Let's go with you at home this time. I used to hook those homes. But remember also in this home, another challenge, you know, when you're going at someone's home, you don't have power to speak about what to do or what not to do.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was in Form 3, that is the first time I went to a certain home. And I remember as a strong, I was a CU chairman, vice chairman by that time. Oh God, today I'm revealing a lot.
Yeah.
I've never revealed all this. And I remember at night we were watching a movie, and that is the worst crisis that came to my life. We were watching a movie, and all of a sudden I went to Urino. When I was coming back, I met a new movie, and I could see that people are fighting. But when I looked clearly, it was pornography.
Oh my goodness!
That really messed me up. Because it was something that I've never thought, I've never imagined, something I've never even, because I used to think pornography and this brown thing that this brown thing that are in picture, the behind of the picture, I don't know what we call that.
The film.
Yeah, I used to do that in the pornography. And you see, a new crisis came to my life. Remember, I'm having some other crises that are hidden.
Yes.
Remember, I told culture make you to not to speak.
Yeah.
Because you be hated.
Okay.
That's why even I had to run away from that family, because I can't speak to the neighbors because I'm revealing that. Remember, now I'm having crisis after crisis, in high school crisis. I think I'm having some identity I'm trying to hide because I'm born again. I don't want to reveal what attachment I'm feeling. And this, another crisis back.
Wow. I'm just wondering, because we are almost out of time, so after high school, what did you do and what are you doing currently?
After high school, I was in high school for 7 good years.
7?
7, out in, trying to look the ways out. I thank God there's someone who came through when I was in first high school, called Mr. Wanjao, who came to preach someone to someone. They came for a sermon in school. I don't know, I think I cried a lot. I cried during the prayer session. I cried a lot until they had to ask me what is happening. And now I told them, I'm not performing in school. The principal had given me ultimatum.
Yeah.
I either go and camp at CDF office or I go to a day school where I don't want to really go back to that family again. And now I can't try to bargain my stay in school with my performance, because my performance was so dwindling.
Yeah.
And this guy just told me, because you know Christ, I'll pay for you.
Wow.
And he paid for me for the first time. But also I didn't perform. I got a C of that 9 point, I still remember. I went back Form 3 again. And I remember I still thank that principal was in Kagema Boys High School, Mr. Kimani. Because I went there with only 2,000. I bargained my going back with 2,000. And by that time, God helped me, I scored a B minus.
Wow.
And I felt nowhere I was going, because I want to school to be, I don't have any job admission board grade. I went back again to a Form 4. But this time I didn't make it. I just scored another B minus. This time I came and I started now. I went to all offices. I remember I was knocking offices in Nairobi. I could walk by foot from Githurai to town, looking, trying to drop papers in different churches. I remember even in a certain church I went and I was told, you can be helped if you're not a member here.
Oh.
I questioned those people. I just told them,
wow.
I'm not a member, but I'm a Christian family.
Yes.
This, I think, aggressiveness.
Yeah.
I remember here at drive-in, I used to like, hawkers, they give tropicals. Me, I used to study some tropicals, but in my feature barua, in the file of my letters, admission Jomo Kenyatta University, Sunday kuzia tropical, nakupatia letter, just go read it.
Yes.
And through that, and now I arranged I printed some cards and I started giving people so that they can gear me to go to a parallel program in Jomo Kenyatta University, but the opportunity lapsed because I didn't achieve the money. But now, because I had someone, just an individual person, a woman, just tried to collect for me through those cards, 20,000. She's called Mama Kibochi. She's in Marikiti. She sells melons there at Marikiti. And now this time someone told me about Daystar University.
Yeah.
And I was told to go and try to gain my way in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I went to, because I've never been that road, I've never even seen those buildings there.
Yeah.
It was my first and the most dramatic thing that happened. You know, I went at the gate and Kashidwa, what am I doing here?
Yes.
I went.
Oh, we seem to have lost Anthony. And our time is almost up. But maybe, Professor, you can wrap up this conversation just from what you're hearing about Anthony. I think for me, one of the things that I pick from Anthony's story is he refused to stay down. No matter the circumstances around him, he's such a fighter. He always finds a way not to stay in a situation that's pulling him down. How can you end this conversation, Professor?
Right. One of the things that came out very, very strongly is that a child who goes through neglect, goes through molestation, goes through abuse, is a child who can get affected in so many ways.
Yeah.
He has talked about identity crisis, even sexual identity crisis.
Yes.
Because there is no one who is helping him to form his identity.
Mm-hmm.
And he was looking for anyone of goodwill to help him to be able to deal with the challenges of education that he was going through, and even the challenges of livelihood.
Yeah.
Just like you have said, Anthony was a fighter, a real fighter, but we are also speaking to people out there who may not be as resilient as Anthony was. And we would want to encourage them that it's important to reach out when you're going through difficulties of neglect, parents neglecting you in schools, not finding someone to be there for you. In churches, you go and you are turned away.
Yes.
You still continue on just like Anthony continued on. At one time, when Anthony was narrating his story, he said that the woods that he went through, he is feeling them. And Anthony, I would want to say, if you would want to be provided counseling, if you think that you're needing counseling, because even when you are saved and you have accepted Jesus Christ as your personal savior, you need to work on what happened to you, the traumas that you went through. Because sometimes those traumas, when you get your own families, you might find yourself projecting them on your own children and your own spouse. So if you're needing that kind of support, I am willing to do that. It may not be me, but I come from an institution called Kenya Institute of Business and Counseling Studies, and we do counseling. We provide counseling for people. And therefore, if you're willing to, because again, counseling is not imposed on people, but people have to be willing to walk that journey.
Yes.
You have talked about your brother who went to drug abuse using marijuana. Certainly, children will try to compensate. They are feeling so low, they are feeling so defeated, they are feeling so overwhelmed. Your brother did not have a capacity like the one that you had, Anthony. And therefore, we can see the difference between you and your brother. And still, when children now get to abusing drugs, they also need assistance. So we are looking at what are the consequences of neglect, abuse, what are the consequences of molestation, and we can see them. That there is identity crisis, sexual identity crisis, there is mental health issues that people experience, relationship with other people become very challenged, but there is a cure. As long as someone is talking out their own issues, as long as people are attaching themselves to faith institutions and someone becomes saved, and also that someone can be taken through counseling or find a mentor who can walk the journey with them. These are people who can be saved from that kind of arrive torn by problems so that they can become resilient like Anthony and be able to move in life as people who are drivers of their own lives, but they are not driven by the problems that they have gone through.
Okay.
Because those problems make people to be very empty. And you need to feel that your life has meaning and purpose. So thank you so much, Anthony, for sharing that.
Yeah.
That was very, very enriching for many.
Awesome. Unfortunately, my time is up. I'm way over the time. Anthony, maybe I will call you again for a part 2 because you haven't finished sharing your story with us. In fact, some of the listeners are already saying, Pastor, please consider having a part 2 because we need to hear the whole story from Anthony. We'll see how we can make that possible. But thank you for availing yourselves to be a part of the show today. May the Lord bless you. Unfortunately, my time is far gone, and so we have to end the show here. Asanteni sana.